Dear all, so it's our very first discussion of the day, which is diversity dialogue on role of leadership in driving change. And this session will be chaired by Binitha Dalal, who's a founder and managing partner at Mount K Capital and head of raising Rustomjee Group. Binitha Dalal oversees the fundraising and the development of the projects for the investee companies. She has over 17 years of experience working in the real estate finance and development fund management industry. So Binitha is currently a managing committee member at CREDAI, MCHI, and co-convener of CREDAI Youth Wing. So introducing our speakers in the alphabetical order, I welcome first Abha Singh, who is an advocate, social activist, and former bureaucrat. Former civil servant turned lawyer, Abha Singh presently practices at the Bombay High Court. She is a renowned social activist known for the considerable work in the realm of women's rights, gender equality, and justice. Her NGO, Run Summer Foundation, works primarily in rural areas, providing vocational skills to women. Second in the list, we have Ms. Amrita V. Chowdhury, who is a co-founder and CEO from GAIA. Amrita is a business strategist, engineer, and innovator, serves as an independent, non-executive director on public listed boards of Simons Marshall, Nesco, Mahindra Lifespace Developers, and ZF Commercial Vehicle Control Systems, and on the subsidiary boards of Mahindra World City Jaipur, Mahindra Industrial Park Chennai, World City Developers, and Mahindra Homes. And third in the list, we have Dr. Anar Mehta, who is a social activist, entrepreneur, and a global ambassador. Dr. Mehta is a founder of Srishti Bharat NGO, co-founder Hello Womania, a digital media platform for women, National President of NRI Council at Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So President of MSME and Startups Forum, Bharat Gujarat Chapter, and also a representative of Nari NGO based in Baroda. Fourth one, we have Radha Ramanujan, who's a Chief Financial Officer from UDS Group. Radha, a CFO for 20 years, has more than 30 years of corporate experience. Her versatile experience ranges from startups to large conglomerates in diversified business like IT, hospitality, FMCG, manufacturing, retail, and QSR. She's an angel investor and has explored all types of investments, and the latest being crypto. Fifth in the list, we have architect Urmila Rajadhyaksha, who is the honorary president, Indian Society of Landscape Architects. Urmila, a landscape architect with nearly 30 plus years of experience, especially in urban landscapes, has worked with governmental organizations at various scales, ranging from civic bodies to ministries, as well as non-profits and funding agencies, funded by international and national bodies. I once again welcome all the dignitaries to this panel, and I now request our moderator to please take over the proceedings.
Thank you so much, Purti. Thank you, Sapna, Tripti, and the entire team of Realty Plus. You guys are rock stars, and as a women team, you all have constantly upped the bar for all real estate awards. So it's so happy to see you guys organize one more women's conclave and rock it in every way. Good afternoon, ladies. I hope all of y'all are comfortable once we start this conversation. So I'm going to kind of make this a little interesting, and I'm going to start off with, while Purti has introduced all of y'all, why don't actually y'all, take a minute and kind of just run through your life journey, because it's extremely inspiring to see such a great panel of women achievers, and it would be really nice to know what was the story which led you all to come here. So let's start with Abha. Could you just kind of tell us your life story in a snippet?
Yeah, I think Binitha, that's a lovely idea. I mean, when now people introduce me as one of the top lawyers in the country, and I look back my journey, I started as a civil servant. In fact, I started as an activist. I was in JNU doing dharnas, morchas, also studying international relations, like very vocal. I was always a very vocal student. And then I got through the civil services. I worked as a custom officer for 4 years. Then I shifted to the postal services, did 20 years. While I was working in the government, I realized that to fight for justice, you need to know law. So, in spite of having children, two children, like I think my son was 13, my daughter was 6, I went and registered myself in Bombay University. And while working, I did law. And the sole purpose of doing law was to stand up against injustice, to be the voice for the women. And I'm glad to say that my 10-year trajectory as a lawyer is marvelous. Not only from the Salman Khan hit and run case, where I ensured he got 5 years imprisonment in the Sessions Court, to Shah Rukh's Baroda accident, to AIB roast. I was the one who got that FIR on Karan Johar and all, that AIB roast case. So if you just Google, you will find all the big landmark cases. So here, a woman born in Uttar Pradesh, which we say is backward, small state, girls are in Parda. So from there, being born in UP and now in Mumbai and international level, I've been a TEDx speaker at Oxford, Columbia University, New York. So I would just say God has been kind, but yes, my message today is raise your voice and stand by your gut feeling.
Wow, that's such an inspiring story and a very, I would say, esteemed list of people that honestly got the real side of law just by your efforts. So kudos to you on that. Dr. Anar, can I come to you and ask you for
Yes.
your small snippet?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Binitha. Hi, everyone here out here. I'm getting lots of positive vibes and energy today. I'm Dr. Anar Mehta. I'm based in Gujarat, Ahmedabad. I'm actually an NRI. I'm a US citizen, but my Karma Bhumi is India. So I'm more or less based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. But like once a year, 3 months, I'm there in USA. So I'm a US citizen. I just wanted to tell my story. I'm a single mother. I had lots of hardships when I parted my ways. I have my son who is a computer engineer and done masters in Boston University. Now he's working for Apple. So I'm just overwhelmed by his things. I'm like very proud mother. And what made me into the Women Empowerment NGO? My NGO is based in Ahmedabad, which works for all women-related initiatives. The single mother criteria made me work for women and work for women rights. So I have received PhD from Delhi World Human Rights Commission. I'm also of BJP global member. I'm Somnath Trust trustee. And I work in rural and urban areas in all women related initiatives like skill development, financial literacy, gender equality are my core. And my NGO was a volunteer for Gujarat government during COVID epidemic and I worked under the IPS Anil Prathamji. We really worked hard for all the women, all the single mothers, foreigners, women. So my passion is to just empower women-led development.
Wow, that's so nice and inspiring. And I'm sure you would have come across really inspiring women in your journey, being a single mom and kind of being so proud about your son. Kudos to you on that. Kudos to you on that. I'm gonna now break the alphabetical way and I'm gonna ask Urmila Rajadhyaksha to please come in and kind of just give us her life snippet.
Thank you, Binitha. So I'm Urmila Rajadhyaksha, today a Mumbaikar, but I hailed originally from Kerala. And in fact, during my early days, I was something like an educational nerd, quiet, with my nose in my books, and that was me. You'd hardly see me speaking out anywhere. But all of that changed when I became an architect, because the program in architecture was such that you had to do all kinds of unexpected things, fend for yourself, do a lot of things. So that was the beginning of the change. From being an architect, I went on to do my master's and become a landscape architect. And in 1995, found my way to the 1990 two actually, found my way to the city of Mumbai, the city of dreams, as they call it. And one wonderful thing about Mumbai is actually that, whatever you determine for yourself, you do find the means to do it. So and in fact, though our topic is of gender diversity today, I found Mumbai a much better place for women and I must say that in our country than elsewhere. And I've lived in a few cities there. So starting new city, new place, I've built up my career, worked a lot in heritage landscapes. And the thing about our career is that you end up interacting with a lot of different people. So right from the labor who executed your work to your clients and patrons. So which have ranged from individuals to government bodies to, worked in the Prince of Wales Museum here in Mumbai. And we were lucky to get an award for it, the UNESCO Asia Pacific Award. So it's been a full life. And in fact, I am a happily married woman with 2 children doing well in their own lives. So I would say that, it's also been, the family has been also a backup for me as I went along. So, well, that's me here. Thank you.
Nice. So nice to hear that. And, it's good to see someone with so much passion towards architecture and ancient architecture coming from Kerala to Bombay. Good part is you're still on a coastal place, so you still have the nice coconut trees, but too many tall buildings to complement it. So yeah, I want to pull in Amrita and request her to give us her life story as well.
Hi, first of all, delighted to be here and with everybody. So I actually grew up in Patna, and from there went off to IIT Kanpur and then UC Berkeley and later on Carnegie Mellon. And along the way worked in innovation in California, got some US patents out of the work that I did in semiconductor manufacturing. And then moved into strategy consulting, working with Fortune 100 companies in the US and then in Australia, came back to India, wrote a couple of books on the way because that's one of the passions that I've had in life. Books of fiction initially, and before veering more towards nonfiction and other kinds of writing. Then when I was back in India, I was heading a few different businesses, and we started my company almost 9 years ago with the vision of bringing in tech into the space of our built environment and built operations, and seeing how man and machine can come together in this interface, because when we are looking at our built environments, it's actually an interface between business, government, and society. And in different ways, we use tech to really revitalize and reimagine what the spaces and the operations and the services can do for us, whether we are citizens or consumers. So, that's who I am. I love the space that I'm in. There's a lot of activity, and along the way, I started joined various boards. So that's another hat that I wear. I am a mother as well of 2. So lovely to be here.
So nice to hear that, and very, very interesting having so much tech and semiconductor experience, the buzzwords of today and the need of this country. But so happy to have you as well. And I'm now going to request Ms. Radha Ramanujan to please come in and give us her life story.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. I thought I'll miss this opportunity, but somehow I managed. I'm professionally currently a group CFO. I work for Uploader Services. I'm a mother, a grandmother. Of course, I like to be a good daughter and wife as well. I've been working in corporate world for almost 30 plus years now. I had an opportunity to work with large companies like Reliance Retail, Landmark Group, FMC. I have a mix of experience. I worked in IT sector, I worked in hospitality, I worked in FMCG, manufacturing, retail, QSR, and now in the facility management space. I got married quite early, and I did both my professional exams after marriage. I got through them in first attempt. That I still feel proud about it. Have got some awards: Superwoman Achiever, Most Influential CFO. I also got award in Exemplary Human Leadership in Supply Chain. I didn't have a single day break in my career, though I call myself to be a traditional Tambra. That's about me. And nice to be with all of you.
Wow, that's really nice to hear. I must say, being a mother of two, getting your degrees after you've settled down in life and continue to kind of go up the corporate curve is quite an inspiration, and I'm so happy to have you as well. I'm just going to take 2 seconds and introduce myself so that you guys have a bit about what I do and why I have been chosen to, in a way, grill you all, if I may. So I come from a real estate background. I started off in education, set up the Rustomjee Business School while I was going through my training in real estate, and then joined the real estate business in Lehman during the crisis. Started off in operations, right from architecture, costing, contracts, planning, redevelopment negotiation with societies, acquisitions of land, got the entire rundown, and then finally, thanks to the Lehman Brothers, found my niche in finance and continued to manage fundraising for the group for about a decade and a half. And after raising more than $2 billion and multiple partnerships, I then decided to start a fund management business for the family. And I now founded the fund management, which is India's first, I would say, development fund management platform called Mount K Capital. And now I head that as part of the business for Rustomjee. So that's me. Why I love the sector is because I think real estate is one sector which across centuries can boast on the fact that it's one part of this earth which continues to survive. And maybe a couple of centuries down, a couple of generations down, someone can stand up and say, this building was made by this person at that point in that era. So that fascinates me a lot. And I love the entire part of real estate. And that's why I kind of, love being a part of this and every part of it. And money is something I really like to manage. I think if people really understand money, they understand everything that works in a business. So that's about me. But I'm going to start jumping into questions, to make this a little more interesting and learn about all your inspiring stories. So I'm going to actually start off with you, Amrita. You mentioned about tech and you mentioned about a lot of things that you've kind of seen across the years. So from your experience as a CEO in the tech industry, what are some industry specific challenges that you kind of felt on gender diversity, if at all, and how did you overcome them across the years?
So, women in tech is actually quite a conundrum, right? Because if you see in India, at least, about 50% or more of the graduating class is women. Around the world, the number goes down a little bit. So if you're looking at the US, it might be maybe closer to 30% rather than 50%. But still, it's a substantial number. At the other extreme, when you look at tech industry CEOs, today we have from industry bodies to a lot of tech companies, you do have women CEOs. Similarly, across the world, there isn't a very large number, but there are enough women CEOs that you would hear about and made examples of. What happens is what we call the missing middle. And that's has been the challenge always and continues to be, where women do join the workforce, the 50% graduates do join the workforce, but there is a very steep drop-off, and that drop-off doesn't get addressed. And then that leads to a smaller pipeline and a pool of people as you keep getting into leadership roles, and even fewer when you get into the CEO and the board level roles, right? So that's the big challenge. And the way I see it, it's multiple factors, right? Multiple factors. Today, what we see is that from a ecosystem perspective, from a government perspective, there seems to be a lot of push towards bringing women into the forefront in every industry, right? So the policies are today favorable. If you see many institutions and large organizations, there's enough sensitization that something needs to be done. Whether they walk the talk or not, at least they talk the talk. Right. And the challenge still remains that, both from a societal perspective
we do need those examples and the family systems, ecosystems that do propel the girl child and the working moms and the young, married women back into the workforce and encourages them to stay there. And the women themselves, need to have that ambition and drive to be there. And it's not just tech, right? I do get a perspective into the real estate industry as well, because I'm sitting on the boards of some large real estate companies. And here the numbers are actually starker. At an aggregate level, you do see women in design, you do see women in architecture, in finance and marketing, but in the core, construction area, you still see fewer women. Actually, finance, maybe you can answer more. There are fewer women in finance and real estate as well, right? So it is an endemic issue, and I think it requires the triumvirate of stakeholders, so as to speak, in a society, the ecosystem, as well as the individual, to ensure that they participate effectively.
Very well said, and absolutely right. I think it's the individual and the organization that has to make it comfortable for women to kind of grow in, which needs to work both ways. It's always a two-way win-win situation. I'm going to actually pull in Abha. You said that you kind of wanted, as a social activist and a former bureaucrat. In fact, you mentioned the postal services, being a very different place. I've not seen anyone, actually, I've not seen a celebrated bureaucrat in the postal services. So, how was it for you? Because I think there, at that point in time, even the government did not have too many reservation bills and so on and so forth. And working in the postal services would have been across the country. So I just want your perspective, and how did you kind of work your way through over there and leave that mark?
When the UPSC result came out and I got Indian Postal Service, people said, "Oh, I think there are only dakiyas, only postmen." People knew only postmen, nothing beyond that. So telling them that, look, you're a class 1 officer, you're from the UPSC, it was really funny, because they couldn't believe that there is an officer. So
because it's a postman, it is so made. It's called postman.
Yeah. Even the official coin term is postman, no postwoman. So while I was working in Mumbai, it was different, it was equality, equity, whatever you say, no gender bias and all. But subsequently, I went as Director Postal Services, Uttar Pradesh. There was actually, I found that there were not toilets for women, you're going for inspections. And I was virtually living in Lucknow, and my post offices were in Raebareli, Sultanpur, 250 kilometers. So I would go in the morning, do the inspection, come back to my home,
then go to the washroom.
Then go to the washroom. So then I realized how difficult it is for women to work in in such type of job. Then, what happened? We had some gender, we had some postmen had died while on duty. Other post officer so their wives needed jobs, and there were no government jobs like that. So then I asked these women, I said, I have only vacancy for postmen, but will you be my postwoman? In Lucknow, I got the first batch of women postwomen. I said, you are in Ghungat, but you will too deliver a letter in an unknown house. Do you have the courage? Because if you are ready, I will give you the job of your husband under the compassionate quota. So, it was a big thing in Lucknow, and I'm talking of 2006-07, that you had postwomen. 8 postwomen joined in Lucknow, and they said, no, we have to take care of our children. Our husband have died. We are going to distribute letters. So that is what I call empowerment. That from a Ghungat housewife, you're a widow, but you're ready to take on the society.
That also in Lucknow, before the cleanup.
Yeah, before so this is what I felt was, something very empowering. Then second, when I would go for my inspections, I would find there was no electricity. 2005-06, no electricity. Going for inspections with a candle light or a lantern. So first time I put up a solar panel on my post office in Gauriganj. People are talking of solar panels now. In the year 2006, I put up a solar panel. I said my post offices have to work. We have put computers. I'm going for inspection in a candlelight or a lantern. I'm inspecting. So these are the changes which I brought about. And I feel it need not be a man who can make the changes. A woman can also do it. Like you said, you need to love money, and if you want to manage money, you will make money. So, this was my, and in fact, that time the Times of India Lead India campaign happened. And from being in the government, I won the scholarship, a Chevening scholarship to go to London School of Economics. I was 18, I was graduation in LSE. So I feel there is no bar for you. And this is history. I would in the department now, Master General, who's a woman, because when we have joined the Class 1 services, we will be like I left 10 years early. And today also I would have been in the government. I would have been an additional secretary, Government of India. My batchmates are chief postmaster generals. They are additional secretaries, Government of India. But I feel no, I've been able to change lives. I've been able to touch lives. For Maharashtra being such a progressive state, the widows of manual scavengers had never got compensation. If you Google Vimla Charotia, there was this widow who lost her husband who was cleaning a septic tank. I walked up to her house, became her lawyer. My daughter was there with me that time. She was practicing. Now, I didn't mention my children, but I'm a proud mother of an IPS daughter. My daughter's in the Indian Police Service. I mean, that bold she is, like that she joined as a cop. But that time she was a lawyer. Pro bono, she fought for the widows. And Bombay High Court ordered these women were given 10 lakh compensation overnight. A state which had not given any compensation for 30 years. We got them compensation from the High Court.
Abha,
In
it
fact,
looks
now
like
I have widows from
the
Bangladesh that look, we have not got any compensation. I set up a website called Ask Assistance for Safai Karamcharis. Pan India widows get in touch with me. They say, Madam, 500 1000 के लिए हमारे हस्बैंड आपका सेप्टिक टैंक साफ करते, आपको लगता है हमारे पास पैसा है कि हम कोर्ट कचहरी जाएगा, वकील करेगा. So that is what I feel. When I was in the government, I made all the changes that I could. But now when I'm out, I am doing a bigger change which I am managing through the courts.
That's I think the right use of Indian law is happening through you, and I'm so happy to hear this story. It's extremely inspiring and very overwhelming. But I think the weather and the network of Leh is ensuring that your voice to us is coming a bit cracked. So my suggestion would be you can keep your camera off. Sometimes it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually pull in Anar, and I'm gonna ask you, being a single mother working with MSMEs and then working to empower your son to go and join Apple. What were the few successful strategies that you implemented for women-led startup ventures, and how do you kind of support them?
Actually, Binitha, he did masters. He did bachelor's here in Ahmedabad at the Indus University, which is based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So 4 years he did masters, and then after that he went to Boston for his masters in data analytics and computer science. So after that, he didn't even realized that he's going to get in Apple. But I know as a mother that his dream was to get into the good IT company. So he 3 to 4 months he really really tried everywhere, like startups and MSMEs there, and even he was ready to work off IT company also and all that. But he was very persistent, and actually I also really motivated him truly. And there you have recruiters in US. So you have to propose the resume and everything there. So in US, the startup system is actually quite different. And Apple is a quite renowned company, and but startup principles won't apply there. So he was very persistent, Binitha, in applying in Apple, and at 3 to 4 places he got a job, but he said, no, I'm going to wait for the Apple company to recruit me. So 2 months he was jobless, but he was very persistent, and I also motivated his dreams. Actually, every mother should support their children's dreams. So I said, if you are okay, then you don't want to accept other jobs, you just wait and be persistent. And always God is with you. And then immediately after 4 months, he got a job. So he shifted to San Francisco, and he got a job in Apple. But I really wanted to highlight that challenges actually confronting today's women entrepreneurs are that I really wanted to top 7 hurdles I've listed down for the women entrepreneurs in India. Should I go ahead with it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so when launching and running businesses, women entrepreneurs in India encounter several obstacles. These challenges often deter them from getting started, and many more companies either never take off or shut down shortly after opening. Let's explore some 8 of the most prevalent challenges faced by women entrepreneurs in India. So first is gender gap in financing. That's very important, Binitha and everyone. Assessing funds is crucial for starting a business, but it's tougher for women entrepreneurs in India. About 90% of them can't secure financing from traditional institutions because they lack collateral, security. Traditional practices favored passing property and financial rights to male heirs, leaving women without assets in their name. Bank and government agencies have yet to be very supportive of women's business need, often viewing them as less creditworthy than men. This results in higher interest rates on loans, with women entrepreneurs being 30% more likely to need a guarantor. I look at the perspective of the single mother, so we have to be very careful. So, moreover, men-led business generally secure more venture capital, while women entrepreneurs often turn to microfinance loans and self-help groups for financial support. The second one is the management challenges and gender bias. Gender bias in the business world often surfaces in management roles. Women in such position may face stereotypes that challenge their authority. What may be seen as confidence in men is sometimes as bossiness in women, making it harder for them to assert themselves. The deep-rooted societal biases will still suggest that certain tasks or industries are better suited for men, which can lead to women not receiving the recognition they deserve. When women lead teams with male members, they may struggle to have their instructions taken seriously due to questions about gender-based authority. Furthermore, the perception that women are less capable can result in unsolicited advice from individuals who believe they know better. This can be frustrating and creates additional challenges for women in management roles. The third one is work-life balance challenges. Balancing work and personal life can be a significant challenge for women entrepreneurs in India due to several key factors. The first is societal expectations, lack of family support, meeting expectations, stress and burnout, how to balance personal and professional life. And the last one is limited industry knowledge. Many women entrepreneurs in India face hurdles regarding industry knowledge and opportunities. So, you will find fewer women-owned startup in areas like production or technology or science, fewer. This situation is partially due to persistent gender stereotypes in India, which often label women as the weaker sex and suggest that physically demanding tasks are better suited for men. In practical terms, I think this can limit a woman's ability to be actively engaged in certain industries that requires hand-on work, hindering her progress. The recruitment can also be challenges. Women entrepreneurs may struggle to hire women for roles traditionally seen as men's work, further limiting opportunities for women in various fields. The fifth will be the building support network, which is quite challenging for women. And the sixth is safety concerns, where I run my NGO for the women-led development. I know the Ahmedabad is a 2-tier, 3-tier state, but metro cities like Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, the safety concerns are very important, and we have to be very careful. It's a big concern for women entrepreneurs in India, with several important aspects. With increasing crime rates, many women are going out in the evening or at night, can be tricky. Safety worries are real because some women have faced domestic violence, sexual assault, or worse, just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This fear of harm affects their decision, and their families often push them to prioritize safety over their business. Women-owned businesses also face a higher risk of theft and robbery, partly because people think female business owners are more vulnerable. They think these safety concerns are a major hurdle for women entrepreneurs in India, influencing their choices and limiting their opportunities. And the last one would be, the challenge would be the limited risk-taking. Taking risk is a core component of entrepreneurship, but Indian women often have limited experience due to family obligations and societal norms. Critical decisions like where to live or travel are typically made by husbands or family members, limiting women's exposure, making tough choices, and handling the outcomes. This lack of independence compared to men makes it challenging for women when making a crucial business decisions. While both genders usually seek family counsel and approval before starting a business, men may have more leeway, while women cannot afford the same spontaneity. In many cases, the married woman must inform their husbands before investing, even if the funds are accessible. Unmarried and married women may also need to consult with their fathers, brothers, or their husbands. While challenges exist, women entrepreneurs can still find success with the address, but just a push more or a hard work more is necessary. The women entrepreneurs might face specific challenges on their path to success, but the growing number, the good side is a women-led business prove these obstacles can be overcome. Connecting with fellow female entrepreneurs is a great way to build a robust support system, potentially introducing use to women investors interested in supporting your creative ideas, even in male-dominated industry. Being true to yourself and expressing your unique voice can lead to a success in business and beyond. Here at the address, we understand the unique challenges women entrepreneurs in India, and we really want, as my organization, Srishti Bharat Foundation, I really want women to overcome these challenges and obstacles and push a little harder. Always dream big, always achieve your goal, and be very firm. Thank you.
You're on mute, Binitha.
I'm so sorry. I'm like, thank you so much, Anar. That's really nice, and so happy to see the effort you've put in to put everything together. You've covered the entire eco space, like right from the fact that home to marriage to past ways in which women are there, and the fact that they've been always told that they are not equal and they are less than equal, and how people should kind of look at it differently. Thank you so much for that, and it covers the entire eco space. I'm gonna actually now bring in Radha, and I'm gonna go with you, Urmila, last. Okay. Being in the corporate world for so long and being part of so many boards and being part of so many different places, there's always this chatter about the glass ceiling and boards not being too many women, or corporates not having too many women, and it's always been a suit led initiative, and now having facilities management where a lot of a very large part of it is having women on site in terms of the cleaning and taking care of properties. Um, how have you dealt with diversity as far as your voice is concerned, and how is it that you've seen the change in the corporate world, and what kind of initiatives were taken by you in this entire journey?
Okay. Thanks for this question. It was quite challenging. Even when I started my career, I was in a manufacturing company. When we go to the audit and other thing, the entire factory will have only the male toilet. So you leave, and factories are always outskirts of the city. So you leave from your hotel in the morning at 7:38 for a factory and reach back, and don't drink a sip, even to drink a coffee tea, you will be hesitating. Where do I use the washroom? So I did pick up a lot of kidney stones during my earlier days, trying to manage not drinking water to avoid going to the washrooms 20 years back. But those were all good learnings. Maybe I keep telling people, sometime when you're hungry, you need to be shameless. When it is your health, you need to say on the way you drop it, you just go to any of the restaurant and use the washroom. You can't expect the factories to make a washroom just because one woman is coming one off for an audit or an inspection like that. So initial days used to be tough, but as and when I started growing in my career and taking leadership roles, I felt it's very important as a women leader. I must encourage women to join and help create certain facilities that will make women to come and work peacefully in the organization. Even you mentioned about the board. Initially, from 2023, when I was a CFO, I used to be representing the company in the board as a CFO. And I used to be the only lady in the board. When I joined a very large corporate, they were telling finance is very tough, time bound, you have to face various government authorities, last minute travel, defending. How as a woman you can be a CFO? But I've managed everywhere. I used to be the longest serving CFOs in those companies. So one thing I did as a leader is, yes, you cannot change, you cannot get diversity just like that. As and when somebody leaves, I ensure the replacement used to be women. Huge resistance from my male colleagues. They will say, ma'am, she will join. And then within 1 year, she say, I'm pregnant, or my mother-in-law pressure, father-in-law pressure, accounting is time bound, audit is time bound. I cannot have women in my team. So my job was not just onboarding women, but I ensured they perform at par with men. No emotional quotient, crying or exceptional. As long as we are paid at par with men, we better work at par with men and excel. We have that smartness. Just that I keep advising them, we are beautiful, so we get attracted. Just take care of your costumes that help protect. We do get tired few days in a month, which is inevitable. And I keep telling them, plan your travel, plan your business meeting in such a way you don't do hectic travel when you know you're going to be sick in those days. So I ensured, they plan their timing well, even if they have family pressures. I tell them, go home 6 o'clock, spend time with your children, husband, put them to sleep, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, finish your work. I don't want them to hanging around in office till 9 and then go home at 10 and then get harassed by people. Be with them, but make that extra 1 hour. Because you're multitasking, you enjoy being a career woman, it helps you a lot. So spend that 1 hour instead of 9 to 10 watching a movie. Why don't you finish your pending task? So you're safe at home with your people, and your colleagues also feel that you're responsible, you're helping them in finishing the target. You also excel. So some of these advices I used to give them and then be part of them. The other thing also, what we did is, we were in a manufacturing setup. We again said, why not add women in the factories? Why only in the corporate setup? And being in finance, I used to give a lot of stringent target for cost cutting and other thing to all my factories. And we experimented with onboarding 2 lady security guards there. Yes, the guards came in, but now they came with a 40 lakhs budget to me. I said, why 40 lakhs? They said, we have to create a washroom for them. and it cannot be along with the men's washroom. So this washroom had to be created in a place which was one corner of the factory, the other side. So you had to lay the pipes, washroom. But then I said, am I stupid? I onboarded 2 ladies security guard and they're coming with a 40 lakhs budget. What do I do? But then a smart way to strategize is just to use the washroom. I said, let us onboard another 10 women in the packing section. So effectively utilize the washroom, and we got about 14, 15 women. And then that became a habit. They excelled well, and lot more women started coming. So my advice as a senior leader is we need to lead by example. We just cannot say, talk about gender diversity, help partner and help them be a success. Even when we onboarded the security guard and, packing, I keep telling them, you should not do this. You should not be sitting. If a man is traveling, walking around, strolling, you should also do it. You need to be competitive. Try and sleep well, eat well, but when you're a security guard, behave like a security guard. Don't say, I am a woman. I want to be sitting. I want a chair. Then you lose your competitive edge. So I promote them to be as efficient as men and started getting them more and more wherever I go. That's my way of life.
Wow, that's really nicely put, and I think it's only brings out the perfect message, which says that you have to be at par, you're at a level field game. Only then you have the competitive advantage. Very, very nicely put. And I'm so happy to hear all the things that you've done in the corporate world to bring women out in manufacturing. And I think the no women bathroom story is common across every place, including banks in the rural areas. So yeah. Urmila, I'm going to bring you in, and then we'll have all common questions for everyone. I just wanted to know, you're a renowned landscaping artist and landscaping architect, and you kind of have, created the perfect symphony to make cities and landscapes in buildings and across the border look beautiful. And it's very tough to bring as easy as it may sound, a landscape architect is to just figure out the right grass and put it in a couple of places. But it's actually a symphony, because you need to kind of know what will grow, how will it grow, how it benefits it, and so on and so forth. I don't even know if there are too many gardeners over there which are women today. And how have you kind of created your niche over there? Because everyone always looks at it as a gardener. And a gardener, again, is a very male word. It doesn't have women.
So, Binitha, you actually hit the nail on the head when you said that a lot of people look at it as a gardener's profession. We used to call ourselves educated Malis, because that's how the world looked at us.
And again, Mali is a male name.
Absolutely. So the interesting thing is that, at least at the time that I studied, people didn't really look at what the profession would bring in, but you chose professions out of interest because you also had limited exposure. You kind of looked at what you saw around. So by the time I graduated and came back, I was often faced even with the question that, do you really want to work? Which was like, are you mad? You've studied 5 years of architecture, 2 years of post-graduation, and then you get asked these questions. So, but the profession of a landscape architect is still seen as a more flexible profession. You're not in a 9-to-5 job. It's associated with you building your own practice and hence being able to probably streamline your time more. So I'm not too sure that works in actual life. So a lot of women, incidentally, do find their way to becoming landscape architects. And then what also happens is that only about 50% or less of them find their way into the profession. And this is a growing problem. Because what also happens is that it's very much centered around a particular person. You build up a practice around yourself. So you need to be there for things to happen. And this is something which is a little bit of a problem with the kind of responsibilities that our own cultures put on women, and probably we accept them as well, without even batting an eyelid that ye to karna hi hai. There are certain, home is something which you need to prioritize. And that is something which we take as a given without even thinking. In fact, that was the first thought that came to my mind when I was invited here. That we just take things for granted and accept it as we go along and work around it. So the thing that I actually brought into my life is we work as a lone person. you don't really have forums. So that was where the joining of the association, that first form, became quite important for me. And what I actually helped and even spoke about, I'm an educator. So in that, what I really put forth is that you need to be there for each other. Okay, you're competing in this world out there, but there are times when you need each other and you need to be there for that. So even learning to work together, collaborating with other professionals, and not seeing yourself as like most landscape architects are seen as side consultants to an architect who kind of leads the project. So looking at yourself as somebody who brings in something which is worthwhile to the project and an important part of the project. Building up, your own image and understanding that you're important for the project. So that's your professional relationship. Now, the other part of it is that you can design on paper, but you need to get your work on the ground. And when you work on the ground, you deal with a labor force in our country, which is completely unorganized. All of us who have worked with will be well aware of this. And which is also a very male-dominated place, where many of them find it very difficult to take orders from a woman. So finding your way around this, subtly sometimes, maybe sometimes outright, conveying that, you're the boss and that's how things have to be made, is something which has been a challenge, but it's a skill that you pick up along the way. And a skill that I've also encouraged the youngsters, my students and other people to build up. So that's probably how, along the way, I became the president as well of the Society of Landscape Architects. What also happens is the perception of landscape architects is mostly related to gardens, like you said. But our actual training is also into ecology and environmental planning, where we look at how a landscape should really be used, like in a city, and what it needs to be protected and what needs to be kind of really looked into. And a lot of the problems that many of our cities are facing now, it's either the climate change and the heat, or it's the rain which is battering us, and the floods which come up out of nowhere is due to the kind of development that's been happening. So that is, along with all this, is something that we really try to make our voice heard. So I guess that's why the gender diversity aspect of it seems to be a slightly lesser problem than the more important part of getting your work done across.
Your voice heard. I agree with you. I agree with you on this, because this is some place where when you talk about art and symphony, women come in very easily over there. So, thank you all you ladies for this. But now I'm going to kind of open up the floor and have like all common questions for you all. And the one thing that I really want to know is that while women are known to be multitaskers and women are supposed to kind of, I think when there is a professional woman, it comes with an added responsibility where it's a given at home that you're also supposed to be a home manager. I'm going to ask one question on that, and then I'm going to have one question where how women leaders are changing the roles and in growing more women and so on and so forth. But the first question I want to ask you guys is across your experience, being mothers and working in rural areas. Like you said, Radha, you said you had issue of kidney stones, and Abha went to places where there were no toilets and, women toilets and all. How was that journey, and how tough was it at that moment, and what was your inspiration to kind of keep going? Because the biggest problem that I'm seeing in corporate India is that once women deliver and somewhere corporate India doesn't make the journey of a woman who's taken a break for about a year coming back easy. They're always looked at, a voice which can be shut down. So they're like, okay, 1 year, so they won't come back. And when they come back, either they are replaced or their role is given to someone else, and then they have to start from scratch. So how was that for you all, and what do you think we should do as corporate India and as any organization to kind of ensure when a person takes a break and they come back, how is their journey easy?
Binitha, I'll come in here and I will say government that way is the best. Now we have something called childcare leave. 2 years full paid salary. Apart from a maternity leave of 6 months, full pay. Along with that, you can add up without pay leave of 2 years. It does not affect your promotion or your job prospects. And later on, till your child turns 18, any time you can take 2 years leave, childcare leave. So I think corporate India needs to learn from this, because if you see the Fortune 500, you will not even have 25%. I was reading somewhere, not even 10% are women CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies, because primarily, even though they have all the degrees, they come, but when the children happen, they drop out and they lose their seniority. One thing is they lose their seniority, and second is lack of ambition. These are the two things which, in spite of women being sharper than men, being multitasked, they have more empathy and compassion. These are the things I feel are the basic ingredients of success. Having all that, they don't reach the top. So the corporate India needs to learn from that. And another thing, as a lawyer, I have also noticed sexual harassment at workplace. See, in government, your job is safe. Even if your boss messes with you, you will go complain and nothing will happen to you. I'm handling two cases where not only the internal complaints committee, the chairperson was terminated, but in another case, the woman was terminated because she came forward and she complained of sexual harassment. So the law is defective. Private sector, you have hire and fire. So when the rule of 1 month notice is there, so women who come forward and say we are facing sexual harassment, so if the cozy boys club feel that this woman is too argumentative, raising issues, they lose their job. So this is where, through your seminar, webinar today, Binitha, I would like this thing to go out. That corporate India needs to make its women safe at their workplaces. I have filed a PIL in Supreme Court. Then Chief Justice, the Supreme Court just said, go back to WCD Ministry, get the laws changed. But the laws have not been changed. So a chairperson, an ICC committee member, I will ask Radha, Ramanujan and Urmila Radheshef, if you have an internal complaints committee in your company headed by a woman, and that chairperson, because she gives a strong order whereby a senior vertical head, a boss, a male boss is terminated, what happens to the chairperson, woman chairman? That woman chairperson of ICC was terminated within 1 month without even giving a notice. When I went to the court, they happily came, and it's a blue chip company. They say, oh, we have the hire and fire rule. So corporate India faces a lot of problems. And I'm glad that women achievers, leadership in this corporate India are raising their voices. They are realizing the issues that women need help. We need to hold hands. You need to have a justice system. You need to know the laws. You need to be strong, come together. And pro bono, I have taken both the ladies' cases and I'm fighting in the Supreme Court. So that is what I want to say. Leadership is all about making space for yourself, remaining firm, and getting justice, whatever may be the cost. You may lose your job, but in the journey called life, you will end up winner.
So if I can offer, it's fantastic, right? But let me just offer a different, complementary but slightly different point of view. So I think young women actually need to put themselves out there as well, in terms of contributing and being there and not sort of shying away. I'll give you my example, when I went back to work. So strategy consulting is extremely time intensive. We typically tend to travel a lot. So Monday to Friday, you're traveling. That's the norm in the US or anywhere in Australia as well. And so I moved into a role that didn't require me to travel. So it was but at the same time, I knew that I had to put my hours in. And so we had a conversation with, I had a conversation with my company and I said, okay, fine, a couple of days, I will leave on time. And a couple of days, I will be willing to stay till 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. because that is the expectation of that role that you put in, it's not one job. It is 2 jobs that you do. You work 2 shifts almost as a strategy consultant. So you need to be willing to do that. And, one of the mentors that I had early on in life told me that make it a comma, don't make it a full stop, right? And that's really very important, that you need to keep, being there, keep actively engaging, keep saying that I can take on challenges and take on those challenges with competence and with that effort that you need to put in to ensure that you're doing the job well. So there are the exception cases, yes, where you do face sexual harassment, but many of us it's just the regular rigors of being there in that journey and ensuring that we do well. And in that in that journey we need to be present. We need to be present fully and more than present. And sometimes that's the challenge that women don't, like they're not present enough.
Interesting.
So I
Very
just like to
interesting.
come back to what
I
Abha
really
said.
like to
If I
say
may.
that
Okay.
innovation, just 2 minutes. Innovation often begins with a vision as a good leader, and visionary leaders are the architect of this vision. They possess the ability to see the current state, envisioning about the future could and should be like. By articulating a compelling vision, innovation leaders inspire and motivate their teams to embrace change as a pathway to achieving something greater. So I think creating a culture of innovation is very important. The leadership is instrumental in shaping organizational culture, and a culture that encourages innovation is a breeding ground for a positive change. Leaders must foster an environment where employees feel empowered to share their ideas, take risk, and think creatively. This involves not only endorsing innovation, but also actively participating in it, demonstrating that a culture of innovations starts at the top. That's all I want to say.
So yeah, so in
Oh,
fact,
nice.
I completely agree with Anar. And taking off from where Abha said, my own background is not corporate, so I can't really lay claim to that. But since we started with, it was your firm that you founded, you kind of started at the top. So you could lay down the policies and make sure that all the women, girls, youngsters, older women, whoever it was, got whatever support they required when they worked, like proper safe transportation if they had to go to site, and make sure that they reach within certain hours, or if not, then make sure that they reach safely. So these are just some of the basic considerations that we took along. And once you set that in place, it went down the line. So it didn't really, it was just unsaid and right there. It was a policy right from the top.
How nice. Radha, do you have anything to add to this? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Only thing I keep telling everybody is the more and more we say women, 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 we need privilege, we lose out on the competitive world. Corporate world to me is a battlefield. Every corporate fights for their money. There is stress in every level. In that, if we try to talk too much about gender diversity and add stress to them, it doesn't sail well. We need to ensure within the how do we slowly change the culture of the organization. So add people and ensure they perform. Keep add people, ensure they perform. So as a one, yes, a rich companies where they have a lot of money can do everything for a women, create a crash in their office, send them through a cab. But that's not all corporates in India. All of them struggle for making money. So not make it too difficult. This maternity leave of 180 days, which has come in as an act, to me, I felt like it has reduced the opportunity for women in corporate world. Earlier, at least, we were afforded to have no women for 3 months. Now, if you tell your colleagues she'll not be there for 6 months, but I won't give you replacement because I'm paying her salary. So somewhere, yes, we need our privilege, but we manage it. We still try to contribute to the corporate. And corporate also cannot go too much in overspending. Slowly get into that. And as women leader, like Abha said, we need to start fighting for our rights. So be it, 50 lakhs or 40 lakhs. If you're taking me, you better give me the facility. We need to ask for it. We need to shy away from asking our basic requirements and we fight for it. But not too much about, I'm a gender, I'm emotionally, let us not attack. That is what I keep telling everybody. Let's not expose our weakness and then become inferior to others. We have a lot of strengths. We can work much better than anybody. We'll perform and get a recognition, not through emotional tactics.
Very well said. I think that's a brilliant and beautiful way of closing the session. I think we've run out of time. I think, if we continue, we can spend a couple of hours just going around on everything that you wonderful and inspiring women have achieved and have encountered and changed women's lives in your process by coming across them. But just to sum it up, great inspiration all you women are, right from being in the postal services and probably getting the first post women's in the postal services to landscaping architects who've kind of changed the way women came for work, to women in tech. I mean, Amrita, you're an inspiration. And Dr. Anar, single mother, changing the life of MSME women, inspiring. And lastly, Radha, kudos to you, really changing manufacturing and corporate India and getting more women to be part of the journey and inspiring them and getting them to perform constantly by being there for them is a big inspiration. I thank you all for being here today, and thank you Realty Plus for giving me the opportunity to moderate these wonderful women. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. I'm going to hand it over to Sapna and Purti now.
Yeah, I think, in fact, two things that I think came out very strongly here is one, the toilets. And I think it's a universal problem, not only at workplaces, but in public spaces also. If someone is traveling by bus or train, and, so that's a big, but there are certain tech is coming to help there. There is one app which has been launched. It's called Wulu, which is the nearest loo near you for women. So I think tech is going to be an enabler, and it is again founded by Rupali Kershikar. She's a woman, so she found that this is a problem, and I think women will find their ways to address the problems that they have. And another very important theme that came out from this topic, which I realized, was sense of entitlement. Like Radha said, women should not have that sense of entitlement. If you want to work in a corporate world, you need to be to work. If we are asking for equality, we need to give equality. And like what Abha said, empowerment. If we are talking about equality in workplace, we need to empower a woman right at the lowest levels to the highest levels, maybe mentoring our managers to be the next CEOs, etc. Binitha, we have missed out on your views. What do you have to say in this diversity dialogue? How leadership can be, that pivotal factor in bringing change, whether it is in corporate world or, overall?
So Sapna, I absolutely resonate in the fact that, as women, you have a responsibility, in a family, being a mother, and as the woman of the house, to change the mindset of the people around you. And also as a corporate leader, to kind of forthwith bring in women and constantly support them. Mount K Capital is 50% women, 50% men in total. We don't shy away from bringing in more women in the workspace. We don't shy away from giving them the support that is needed. I think the narrative is changing in a lot of spaces, and I'm happy to see, actually men leaders come forth and support women more, because they finally understand that as fathers of daughters, they would want to see their women or their daughters in leadership roles. So yes, I see that. And I'll say something that it's all your upbringing. I was never brought up as a girl child. Like Radha said, I didn't have any you're a girl, you're less than a man, you can't do this, you can't do that. I went to construction sites. I went to see and walk 217 acres. I've gone to banks and worked with men at equal. So it is your self-motivation, it is your inner voice, and it is the upbringing that you get from your parents. If you come from the traditional upbringing where it's told to you that any decision you take has to be in consultant with the man of the house, you will never have the freedom to kind of do that in your life or in your business. So I think as women, you need to change the narrative for your kids. Otherwise, you will constantly continue with the burden. And we forget the one thing that we have the power of giving birth and giving life. I mean, if you don't understand the power you have, you're never going to change the world. So I think that needs to kind of come in everything that women do.
Right, that's right. Like we here say, if men are part of the problem, they are also part of the solution. So, we need to take it. But thank you so much, everyone, for bringing those very insightful advice for us here, for our viewers here on. And I think we had some very valuable takeaways from this discussion. So thank you to all our speakers, Binitha, Ms. Urmila, Amrita, Anar, Radha for joining in, and Advocate Abha Singh for being here. I think we need to do more, but we are on the right track. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
See you. Bye.